Hello, everyone. We'll get started in just a moment. All right. So welcome to day number 4 for the My First Game Jam. I am currently attempting to log into Replit. I apologize for not being very prepared today. All right. Let me turn on my camera here. Hello, everyone. So today we are just going to be going over some stuff with Kaboom.js. So we're going to kind of be looking at some of the examples that are in the documentation. And yeah. So I am logging into Replit. For those of you who don't know me, I am Adam. You may know me on Replit already as TechPandaPro. And I'm going to share my screen here. There we go. So let's head over to the Kaboom.js documentation. And I'm thinking we can kind of look over the playground and kind of look at some of the stuff that's in here. And just kind of see how it works. So let's start with something simple, maybe, and feel free to put your requests in the chat for things you would like to see. Let's start with just something simple. So adding something to the canvas, or adding something to Kaboom. So how we can do this is with the add function. So the way that this works is you type add, and then you can put a list of components here. For those of you who are not sure what a Kaboom.js component is, you can check the documentation and go down here to the components. And you can see Kaboom uses a flexible component system, which values composition over inheritance. Each game object is composed from a list of components. And each component is gives the game object certain capabilities. So here, we're adding to Kaboom, we're adding this bean, and we're adding it at this position with this rotation and with this. And what origin center does is, let me remove this so you can see how it looks without it. You can see now it's rotating around the top right of the bean, which is not how we want it to be. So what origin center does is it kind of, it sets this center point as the thing that gets rotated around. So the center point is kind of what everything is compared to when it's like drawn and everything like that. Yesterday, we looked a little bit at levels and how you can implement levels in Kaboom.js. So how you do that is add level, and then you can specify an array of objects that you want in level. So like, let's say in front of bean, I want another wall. I can just replace that space with an equal sign, and then there's another wall there that you can jump around. Another one that can be quite helpful is this contrast is a little hard to see. You can specify the width and height of a sprite, and then you can also specify stretch and letterbox. So what stretch does is, if we go to the Kaboom, where Kaboom is initialized, you can see this specifies if the Kaboom instance is stretched to fit the entire screen. And in this case, we don't want that to be true. If we change that to true, oh wait, I'm sorry. If we change that to false, and then we run it, you can see it keeps that I'm sorry. So when it's true, I believe what it does is then it stretches everything on the canvas to fit that window. But then if it's false, then it just follows this width and height. I think what would be best is if we kind of continued doing some demonstration, unless there's any particular demos you guys would like to see. Another thing that would be helpful in your games, though, is text. I think a lot of games will implement text. And how you add text is with the text component. So you can see that it adds this text component. So we can change what this says. So maybe we can say, like, hello. This isn't going to form a proper sentence, but if we change that, you can see it changes to hello. And you can also specify, and this gets a little bit more advanced, but you can also specify kind of extra things for the text, like how it behaves and how it looks. And that can get pretty interesting. But that does get a little bit more advanced. Let's take a look and kind of see if there's anything you would like to see in particular. Let me know in the chat. like with any of these demos or anything. So let's take a look at the platformer we were doing yesterday. Something that I had challenged you guys with is to add something where you can collect all the coins and then something happens. And getting a bit of lag. And so what we made yesterday was this, where you have Bean and you can move around on the map and jump around. And what we did was we made a game over screen, where if you fall, then it says game over. So what I want to do is make something where when you collect all of these coins, then it says that you won, or something like that. So now I collected all the coins. I didn't win or anything like that. So we want to add a screen that says I won. So we can add a scene here with the scene function. And we can say when you win. So instead of when you lose. And so this is the name of the scene, and we'll be able to display this. And then when we change to the scene, maybe we want to display some text. So maybe we could say something like add, and in text, you won, or something like that. But this isn't going to do anything in itself, because this just creates a scene and kind of defines it, but we never switch to the scene. So to switch to the scene, what we're going to want to do is see if all of the coins are collected. Now, to do that, what we could maybe do, I'm going to do a bit of a creative way. But if you have actually, I think what we're able to do, so if we collect a coin, let's try something here. Let's debug log get coin length. And you can see every time you collect a coin, dot length goes down. The reason is because this get function gets all of the game objects that are a coin. And in here, we just check the length of that. So what we can do is say if get coin length is equal to 0, then we're going to go to the win screen. And now it says you won when you collect all of the coins. Does that? Okay. So that would be how you could implement a screen like that. Now, I don't really like how this text is in the corner. So a way we can improve that is by saying, when we go to that screen, in that component, we're going to want to center it in the center of the screen. And then, center. And I believe this should, actually an easier way to test this, that would be helpful when you're developing a game, is to go to the win scene. Or I'm sorry, go to the win scene. And now, actually, I think, oh, I'm sorry. We need to position it to the center. Because what center does is center gets the middle point of the screen. So I believe this should, yeah. So now this positions it to the center. Now you may be like, hold on, that's not centered. And you're right, it's not. Because it's centering this point right here. It's centering the top left. Because we have to change the origin. So we have to change the origin to center. And this means that the point that it's centering is the center of the text. So you can see now it centers the text U1. And I'm going to do the same here for lose. And position center, origin center. And now, oh, I need to go to the game scene. And now when you lose, the lose text is centered. If I fall, then it says game over, and it's in the center of the screen. Now, let's take a look at I think something that I would like to take a look at is how to do some dialogue. So what we can do is, so let's kind of make something that kind of tells a story, because this might be a mechanic you want to use in your game. So I'm going to go to Replit, the home page. And we're going to create a new REPL. Kaboom. And let's call it dialogue. So now when we run our project, we have Bean, but I'm going to delete all of this starting code. I'm going to delete all of this. And now I need this Kaboom line right here, because this is what is going to add Kaboom to our web page. Because if this is not here and we run it, then nothing shows up. We have to have this line. Now let's add some text. So let's maybe say add and then text. Hello there. And let me increase this font size for you guys. So we have that text. And now if we run it, then it says hello there. So now let's make a list of all the text we want. Let's make an array and maybe call it texts. Actually, I'm going to change this to dialogues. I'm going to use let. So let dialogues equals an array. And then we're going to put in each of these texts that we want to say. So maybe here we'll say hello. Actually, wait, no, not an array. Sorry about that. We're just going to say hello there. And we're going to say, how are you doing? And then we're also now going to change we're going to just change this to an empty string. And the reason for that is because now we're going to make a function. And we're going to call it update dialog. And inside of this function, we're going to update that dialog. So inside of here, what we can do is set that text to something. But the issue is we have not put that text inside a variable. To do that, we're going to say const text equals add. And then we're going to say text equals, to just demonstrate, let's set it to dialogues 0. So the first in the list. And now we're going to run that. But the issue, so this is overriding the function because by default, Kaboom adds the functions to a global, to the global window. So we need to change the name of the variable to like dialog text, and then change this to dialog text. And then In here, oh, whoops, typo. Dialog text. And now, oh, we need to call that function. Duh. So update dialog. Then we run that. And no? This is going well. Live debugging. That's okay. Let's see here. So what is going wrong here? So if we debug log, actually I'm gonna, yeah. So if we debug log, function ran, move it down, run that, you can see it ran the function. So it should, oh. Yeah. If you ever have an issue like this, feel free to just check the documentation because just to make sure you're using everything correctly. Because I think it's actually TEXT. I don't think it's abbreviated. And so now if we run that, we can see it says, hello there. And so now what we can do is we're going to want to have a variable of the current dialog. So let's make a variable current dialog equals 0, and in dialog current dialog. And now we're going to want to increase current dialog by 1. Whoops, sorry, wrong tab. We're going to want to increase current dialog by 1. And you can see it still says hello there. But now what we're going to do is we're going to add a key press event listener. So we're going to say on key, I believe it's just on key press. And we're going to debug log space press, but we have to actually specify what key it is. So here we're going to say space. And when we run that, no, I believe it's on key pressed. Up on key press space. Oh, it's starting the REPL. Okay, there we go. So on key press space. So now when we press space, it says space pressed. So what we can do is whenever we press space, we want to update the dialog. And now when we press, oh, whoops. This actually doesn't work because it says update dialog is not defined. Because capitalization does matter in programming. So make sure your capitalization matches your functions and all that. And so now when you press space, it goes to the next one. But then if you keep pressing space, it just says undefined. So maybe what you could do is you could say if current dialog equals dialog's length minus 1, and you're going to go to a scene. So let's make a scene called game. And then we have to actually make the scene. So let's say scene game. Normal tree. No, you're not. You're not too late. Whoops, accidentally took it away. Right now, we're just kind of messing around with Kaboom, adding dialogue, or to some extent dialogue. So what you're able to do is you run it, and then you can press space, and oh, whoops, this should be moved up. And I believe this would have to go up here, actually. Wait, actually, that shouldn't make a difference. Debugging again. So I believe it has to do with this line. So if I comment that out, so what we're trying to do is make a little dialogue system where it says, hello there, and then you press space and it says, how are you? But obviously, if you press space again, it says undefined, which we don't want. So we're going to add a scene called game. And when we press space again, it'll take us to the game. So let's think through what happens. So when you first load it, it updates the dialogue, sets the text, and increases the dialogue by 1. And then you press space, it sets the text again. I think an easier way to do this would be to only add 1 to the current dialogue when the space is pressed. So then here we can say update dialogue and current dialogue ++. And take this out. And now live debugging. Hello, everyone. Yeah, and that's totally okay, normal tree. If you want to go back, we have some previous live streams, like some recordings of them. We also have a couple more too. If you go to my first game jam. Oh, I can't put that in the. If you go to our website for the game jam, you can see the rest of the streams. And so we have one. We have 2 more planned. But they may change. Maybe we'll add another one. Out of curiosity, do any of you guys have any of you guys started your game or anything like that? Don't know if you would want to spill the beans on your ideas, but if not, then just have you started. So let's see here. So it should be, so you run, oh, the current dialogue ++ has to be before the update dialogue. That's the issue here. Because you want to add, you want to say go to the next dialogue when you press space, and then update what it says in the dialogue. If you update what it says and then you go to the next dialogue, that won't work. So that's the issue. Now, so let's run this and see if it works now. No? My code is working very well today. Okay, so let's see. So current dialogue, add 1, and then update the dialogue. Oh. We don't want to go to the game if it's on the last one. we want to go to the game if it's 1 past the last one. And if you've done programming before, you know that array start at 0. So current dialog would have to be equal to the dialog's length. I should have known that. So I apologize for my... Oh, there we go. Okay. So now when you press space again, it should take us to the game. So in there, we can add all of our game logic. Now, I probably won't do that. I'm probably not going to build an entire game today. But here, just to pretend that we could maybe add bean. So we could say add sprite bean. And then here we could load the bean. And then if we run that, and now you press space and it says, how are you? And bean pops up. And then this would be where our game starts. And that's how you could do something maybe like kind of story before the game, where then you have to go through it and it says, says all this stuff about the game. And then when you finish the dialogue, then it pops up the game. So maybe your game even could be like this, like the thing that we built yesterday, where you have to go collect the coins. But again, today, we're just going to more explore the mechanics of Kaboom. So another thing I thought might be good to look at, if we go back into the playground here, let's take a look at the button and how the button works. So, with Kaboom, the button doesn't get added to HTML. For those of you who know HTML and how that works, it doesn't get added to HTML. It just gets drawn on the Kaboom canvas, game screen. So what we could do, let's put all of this inside of a scene. So let's take all of this stuff with the dialogue and move it down and then put it inside of a scene called dialogue. And then we can indent all of this here. And now we can say go dialogue. And now it'll go to the dialogue when we rerun the REPL. And so you can see it works still as intended. Let's add a button to this. So let's see here. So let's add a button. What we're going to do is we're going to add some text. And this text will be the button. So we're going to say add, and then text, click me, or whatever you want. And then we're going to position it. Actually, I'm not going to position it yet. But if we run this, we should see text pop up. And then what we want to do is when we click this, we want it to go to the dialogue. So let me see here. So what we can do is say cursor pointer. And now when we run this, now if we put our cursor over this text, you can see that it turns to a pointer. So like something that you would see when you go to click a button. Now, I don't know if you guys, okay, you guys can see it. I wasn't sure. So, I see a question in the chat about Replit domain changes. If you have a question about Replit, or it sounds like this might be more of a bug, they have a support, I believe, that you can reach out to, replit.com/support. And you can ask that question there. So now, when we have this, it turns to a pointer. Although, it stays a pointer on the whole game canvas, which we do not want. So how we can fix that is it should only be over that area. So that's just me being a Kaboom amateur. But we can do area and then cursor like this. We can do area and cursor, pointer, cursor. There we go. And what area is? I closed my Kaboom docs. What area is? Sorry, everything's a bit laggy on my end. Area detects like the area for like collision and stuff. I'm trying to pull up a better definition. As you can see, generates collider area from shape and enables collision detection. So that's basically what that does. Hello, everyone. Danie, Hugo. Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining. So now, when we hover the text, and it should, no. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, it turns out actually cursor does have some issues with the latest version of Kaboom. So it doesn't work great. But in upcoming versions, it'll work better. But it looks like Danie just let me know that it's a bit buggy right now. So that's why we're having some issues with it. So but that doesn't mean we can't build a button. So let's keep working on our button. So what we can do is assign this to a variable. So maybe button equals, let's use let again. And then we can say button on click. and this will detect when you click the button. And so then when you click the button, then we can maybe go to the dialog that we made earlier. So now if you run this, and then you hover and you click it, it says, hello there. So then we can start using our dialog and then get to the game at the end. And I think that's all we'll show for the button. You can kind of experiment with it from here. As you can see in their playground, in the Kaboom.js playground, there's a neat little hover animation. So I challenge you to go and explore that and see if you can get something like that up and running. But this is how you do a basic button. So you can click it, and it says hello there, and you can go through this and then get to the game. And that kind of shows scenes as well and how scenes work. They're very useful for games. So the next thing I want to show maybe is how to do like a little shoot function where you can like shoot kind of like an arrow. Let me see if I can find this example for you guys. I see a question in the chat. I will get to that. Is it? Oh, wait. I'm trying to find the example I'm looking for. And yeah, so add, what add does, as you can see, so it creates a game object. So yeah, so like Danie said, it's kind of like a constructor, but for Kaboom objects. So it basically takes these components here, and it adds it to the game. So in this case, we're using the sprite bean. And then it's adding that to canvas. But we can change this up, like maybe you can increase this to be scaled to 2. And then if we run that, and then click it, you can see now the bean's bigger. So that's kind of what add is. Hopefully that explained it good. Let's look at the egg demo. The page just froze for me. Let's try that again. There we go, this one. So what happens here, I believe, is every time you press space, then it adds a little egg and then teleports bean randomly. So I am trying to recall. Oh. So you can lay eggs, and then when you press enter, then they crack, and then you press enter again, and it pops up little mini baby beans. Let's see if we can maybe get something similar to this, I think. So let's go to our game scene, and let's go to the scene by default. So I'm gonna make this our menu scene. And then we're gonna go to this. So we're gonna go to the menu, and I'm sorry, I just had a brain freeze there. I got distracted. So now you can go to the menu, so it should still work. Or not. Whoops, this has to unseen. I thought something didn't seem quite right. So now you can go to the dialog scene, and it should still work properly. Yeah, it does. Okay, so now let's go to the game scene by default, so that we can kind of skip that menu. And so now we're going to focus entirely in this game scene. So I'm going to open this up in a new tab. And now you can see it starts with the game scene. So let's make something first to detect when you press a key. So we'll say on key press space. And again, Kaboom makes it super simple to detect when you press a key. So we're going to kind of recreate this, or attempt to, in the time we have left, where you press space and he goes to a random spot, and then the egg gets placed. So whenever you press the space, then we need something to happen. So whenever you press the space key, then we need bean to go to a random point and place an egg. So how you can do that is move the bean to a position. So we can say play or bean move to, and in a random position. So we can do a random number from 0 to the width. And to make this more clear, I'm going to say let random x equals rand 0 width, and then let rand y equals rand 0 height, just for clarity purposes. And then random x. And now, whenever we press space, bean should go to a random position. So if we reload this, bean press space. Oh, bean is not defined. My bad, I meant to correct that. We have to assign bean to a variable. So we say let bean equals that. being moved to is not a function. So let's see here what I am doing wrong. Oh, I believe it's because we need to position bean. So the reason is we have to position bean to like a default position almost. So we can say position, and let's start him off in the center, like in the example. And now whenever you press space, bean goes to a random position on the map, or the, whoops, I accidentally just went to my profile. I meant to do something else. Bear with me here. Cover page is what I meant to do. Why the background like chess style? The reason it's like that is because that's the default background in Kaboom. But that's a good question. We are able to change that if we want. So that's just the default that Kaboom comes with. But we can say background and then specify an RGB value here. We talked about RGB a little on day 2, I believe, day 2. So we can say, let's see, maybe blue. So let's do 0, 0, and then maybe 100. Now, when we load up Kaboom, it'll be with a blue background. So let's do this brighter. I'm kind of just experimenting. There we go. A nice light blue, kind of like a baby blue is what I'm going for. And so now we have a colored background. So now, though, whenever you press space, bean goes to a random position. So I'm pressing space. So if I press space, bean jumps. Now, whenever he goes to a random position, we need to add an egg. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the scale, and then we're going to add an egg. So to add a character, as a refresher, we can add a character using the add function and specify the components here. So I want to use an egg sprite. So I can say sprite egg, and then I can position it to the player's position. I can say player, right? Or actually, so here the bean is the player. So we'll say bean position. And the issue here is that there is no egg. So we need to create an egg sprite, which you can do by going up here in the corner of the sprites menu and clicking the little cloud. And then scrolling down, finding a sprite we like. I'm going to use this egg. And and what we can do is now we need to load in the sprite. No, the background actually is not. Let's insert this load code. But the background actually, we worked on a different game last time. Last time we did some work on this game where you jump around on this little platformer. And to show how easy Kaboom is, we did it in about an hour. So yeah, but yeah, so we're starting fresh today with a fresh game. Or maybe not game, but I am going to just kind of demonstrate how Kaboom works. So now, it should add an egg whenever you move bean. The issue here is that the egg is behind bean, which we do not want. And now, so now let's move the egg so that it's behind the bean. So let's go over to our code again, and let's set the z index. So how you can do that is actually, let's set the z index of the bean. Actually, no, let's set the z index of this. Let's just try this and see what happens. So let's do z of -1. I believe a negative is valid, if I'm not mistaken. I think it can be negative. So now, if we reload this again, I have 3 of these open. Now, if we reload this again, I can move bean, and every time I move bean, there's an egg. And now let's make bean a little bit bigger. So let's scale him to 2. And then let's origin center. Now something you'll note, oh, I scaled the eggs to 2. Now the egg is bigger than bean. So let's scale bean to 2. And now it puts the egg behind bean. Now the issue is that the egg is not centered where bean is. I'm going to attempt to fix that, because I believe, actually that won't work. How could we center the egg to where the bean is? Oh, well, I need to origin, cannot type, origin center on this. Now I have a question for you guys. We are well, real quick, so you can see now the egg is centered behind bean. So now you can move bean and he makes eggs all over the place, which is great. Just a quick question I have to take a break from this while I still have you guys here is, we're thinking to do a stream tomorrow. So if we did a stream tomorrow, what time would work best? We're thinking at least like 2:30 p.m. PST. But what time would work best? Like 4 p.m. maybe, or 5 or 3. We want to see what time works best for you guys, but it's kind of hard to plan, without knowing what times work best. So if you guys want to just drop some times in the chat, that would be helpful. So now whenever you move bean, he drops little eggs, which is perfect. So now let's make a mechanism where you can make the eggs crack and then hatch little mini beans. So let's make an on-key press space. And let's, oh wait, no, I'm sorry, on-key press enter. Then whenever we press enter, there's a helpful function in Kaboom to iterate over every object of a particular, so we can say every egg, and this will iterate over every egg. To identify the egg, though, we have to give it this thing called tag, or this thing called a tag. So we can say egg here, and then for every egg, it's going to do this. So if this makes sense, so we can give it a tag of egg, and then for every single egg, it'll, for every single egg, it will then run this code. And it will also pass an egg parameter, or it'll pass the character here, but here we're going to call it egg. And so now we can say egg use. Now what the use function does, I believe I'm going to have to find it on the game object, I believe. So this adds a component or tag. So we can use a sprite of egg crack, which means we have to add our cracked egg here. So we can use this. And then we can go up here and insert the load code. So insert load code. And now it should press enter, it cracks all the eggs. So now what we can do is we can, when we crack the egg, so we're going to give them each a stage. And this, I'm not sure if these have, let me do this. So now we can add this, which will set the stage to 0. So stage is kind of like a custom property we can give to that egg object. So now here we can say if the egg stage is the first stage, then we'll crack it. Else, or I'll say else if egg stage equals 1, and we'll use the sprite bean. And this should say stage, not stage. So now there should be like 2 different states that this egg can be in. So we press space, and they're all there, and then we press space again, or I'm sorry, enter, and it actually does not work. Oh, that's because we need to set the stage to 1. And this, so the stage is kind of a way of representing what state or stage the egg is in. So maybe it's in the first stage or the cracked stage. And you could even do something maybe like here you could say normal, and in here you can maybe say hatched. So you can make this whatever you want. I just chose to use numbers for simplicity. So now call this, press enter again, and I have little beans. However, I want each of these beans to make a little Kaboom animation. So for that, we can use the add Kaboom function. I don't think there's documentation. Your documentation for this? Not sure. Okay. It doesn't look like add Kaboom is documented, but we can use add Kaboom. And now we can add this to that position. So we can say, the position of the egg. So we'll say egg POS, which stands for position. Now, and for all of you who are just joining, well, first of all, welcome to the stream. But also, we're getting close to the end of the stream, but we were thinking about possibly streaming tomorrow. So for those of you who just were tuning in, if you could drop a time in the chat that works for you tomorrow, preferably after 2 or 2:30 p.m. EST or PST, that would be helpful, just to help us plan and figure out times that works for everyone. But anyways, so you can see drops eggs and you press enter, it cracks them, you press enter again, and it says kaboom on all of them. And you can actually keep doing it. It's a feature, not a bug. And then you can even keep moving him and keep making more eggs, and then do it again. They all crack, and then they all kaboom again. Okay. Is there anything in particular that you guys would like to see? Like maybe any small additions, or things like, how do you do this? How do you do and I'm also, while you guys are letting me know about that, how to animate a sprite. Let me just pop up. I'm just popping up and end some slides for us real quick. Just bear with me for one moment here. Actually, I'm going to leave that. Okay. So this is something I want to take a look at. How to load or how to animate a sprite. So I am going to invite someone to this REPL who has more experience with this than me. Danie, who is also here. He's helping me out with the events. You may see him in the background of the chat and stuff. But he's going to help us out here with how to animate sprites. And then I'll kind of explain what's going on. So to use sprites cheats, you'll have to load one in, like you can see Danie's done here. So you can click the little cloud icon and then select the one that you like. So in this case, Danie has chosen this one. And you can see, for those of you who know how a sprite sheet work, then this will seem familiar. And if you don't, that's fine. A sprite sheet is where we have like a bunch of different images. It's kind of like a flip book. I think all of us have seen those where you flip through the pages and it's like an animation. That's how you do sprites, or that's how you do animated sprites with Kaboom. And so what you're going to want to do is load the sprite. So you can go up to the 3 dots and then click Insert Load Code, and it'll insert this code. And then you can specify the slice of it. And so what the slice is, I believe... Oh, Danie's explaining it for us. So there's 9... That makes sense. So how it works is you specify how many little images you see in there. So in that particular dino image, that dino sprite sheet, we have 9 dinos all along it, right? So we have the first one, and then after it moves a little, and then it moves again. And so slice X just specifies how many of those we have there. I'm going to turn on text wrap in here so that you guys can see this better. So you can specify the slice X. There's 9 dinos going from left to right, and there's only 1 dino going this way. Because sprite sheets can also go, dino, 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 and then dino, dino, if that makes sense. So you can go along both directions. And then you can specify the animation name. So here, it's from frame 0 to frame 4. And then you loop the animation so that the dino keeps animating again and again. Now what we can do is add the dino. So you can say let dino equals add, and then sprite dino. And then what we should see is that the dino loads in, I believe. It's very small, but you can see it. Let's scale it up a little bit. Scale 5. However, this is not going to animate. The reason is because you have to use this name up here that you use. So you see it says idle. Oh, there you go. Danie's doing it for us. You have to specify the name of the animation. So here we named it idle. So then when you're loading in that sprite, you just say anim, which stands for animation, idle. And that will play the idle animation. As you can see, now we have a little moving character. And what you could do if you want is maybe so this will play the whole time. And so you can make, a game with this where you can move. And that's how you do an animated sprite. And you can find, again, some animated sprites in the cloud bar here in the assets library. We have a couple. I'm not sure what happened to this one. But I think I don't think that one works. And now you can also change the animation to maybe move. So now we could add a thing where you can use left and right. So this is going to get a bit messy here because I'm kind of adding a dino when we already have a bean. But we're going to add left and right. Or actually, let's add right first. So let's add onKey press right. And then we're going to move the dino 100 to the left and 0 up and down. And we have to assign this to a variable, which is right there. And now when you press right, it wakes up. You can, we have to specify a position here. We have to say position. I think we can just use 0, 0, I believe. I believe that works. Yes, okay. And then we can use right to move the dino. But we need onKey down. The difference is that onKey press only does it when you first press the key. OnKey down does it when the key is pressed. So when you press the key, it'll call this function every single frame. And so now, because of that, you can move them to the right. However, the animation doesn't work. So what we're going to do is say dino play move. Because while I was talking, Danie added this animation where, so idle only goes from 0 to 3. But you can kind of see looking at this that the dino moves from 4 to 7. So that's what Danie added, is now the dino moves. And should play that animation. So let's give that a whirl. So I'm going to play that, or reload. And if doesn't quite work. I believe we might have to loop. Let's try that. I think that's the issue. Oh, is that not? Oh, that's not the issue. Oh, so what we're actually going to have to do is separate these. We're going to use, because what's happening here is, that this line's getting ran every time that a frame goes, because it detects that you're still pressing right. So it keeps restarting the animation over and over again. So we only want to do it when you first press the key. Now let's try that. It doesn't loop, so we are going to want to have it loop. And we're also going to need to detect when you lift your finger off the key. You can use onKey release. Right. I'm sorry if it looks like I'm typing this magically in an instant. It's a bit laggy for me, so my typing is lagging on the REPL. But now, what should happen is you get this cute little dino animation, and he can run along the screen. And then when he's just standing there, he kind of just sits there and moves. But then when you start walking, he plays a little walking animation. And what we can also do is flip the sprite. So let's add, so when you press either, and it's super easy to do this, when you press either of two keys, right or left, we want the animation to play. and stop playing. And so then up here, though, we need to add on key down, left, and then dyno move. I'm going to make a speed variable, and we're going to set speed to 100. And now we should see that the dyno can move both directions. But wouldn't it be super cool if the dyno, when it flips the other direction, if it's rotated like that? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it flip. So we're going to say, when you press left, we want the dyno to flip X true. And in here, you would say dyno flip X false. There it is. And I believe and so now you can see now you can see that the dyno flips. Yeah. So the dyno flips when you go left, and this way it goes away. And it's saying, I'm seeing, let me try something here. Yeah, so that's that. So now the dyno can go both directions. And I must say, it's so much easier with Kaboom.js than it would be with normal JavaScript. And I can verify that because I've done some game dev with just JavaScript, and Kaboom makes everything faster and also easier if you're a beginner. And that's something I really like about it. Okay, so I'll give you guys just another moment. If you have anything else, any other ideas, then feel free to drop them in the chat. So final call for questions, other things you'd like to see with this, or anything like that. Yeah, normal tree. Yeah, it definitely is. Like if I were to try to write the same thing in JavaScript, it would probably take maybe 2 times, 3 times the code. Because you have to remember, well, actually more than that, because we actually added an entire game menu here. So we added a menu with a button and everything, and it works, and you can click it, and then you can press space to go through this dialogue, and then you can start playing the game. So yeah, I would say this would take much more JavaScript. So yeah, definitely recommend using Kaboom.js. Again, especially if you just want to make a game fast, easy, fun, then Kaboom's a great choice. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions. I know not all of you may know a whole ton about the My First Game Jam. So just to clarify, just a couple points with it. Just want to remind you of, I'm not going to go over all of these slides because we already did that on day one. But if you just want a quick refresher, the main points that I want to emphasize is remember these guidelines. Remember, if you're working on this jam, make sure you get your game in by October 11th. That's when the games are due. But then also publish it to the community with the tag Replit First Game Jam and submit it via the website form. And again, you can access all of this and more on the My First Game Jam website. And we'll also be giving out some hacker plan. So for those of you who need some hacker plan, you can win some from this game jam, all while building your first game. So with that, oh, and you can also win a fun virtual trophy just for fun. I think that's everything I wanted to cover today. So tomorrow, we're also going to have another stream. So I'm thinking, I'm kind of doing this on the fly here. But I'm thinking, what about, I'm trying to decide between 2:30 and 3. How about we do another stream tomorrow at 2:30? And we're just going to kind of hang out like this because I like showing you guys how to use this. And yeah, and that's great too. If you want to go kind of study some Kaboom, then tomorrow you can come and ask questions if you have any. And Danie will also be here, and he is much more experienced with Kaboom than I am. So he will also be able to help answer all of your questions. So great opportunity if you want to do that. Otherwise, we will have our next stream on October 4th, where we will be building a game with Kaboom.js and following the theme. And remember, guys, the theme is favorite animal. But again, we will be having a stream tomorrow as well. And I'm actually going to remind you guys of that. I believe so. Just if you're confused at all, you can look down here. This is when we're gonna stream. Thanks everyone for coming today. It's been a blast, and hopefully I will see some of you guys tomorrow. So until then, thanks everyone for coming, and have fun building your game.